Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. And if you're here for the first time, hit that subscription button.
Ooh.
Subscribe there right to the page here and hit the bell. Anytime we go live, you get notified. And we are talking to Kyle Caskey, Caskey's Clicks here. Caskey's Clicker, Caskey's Calls. Still workshopping it. But we're going to make it a long form. And we're going to come in here throughout the week and we'll sprinkle some of the knowledge that Coach Caskey has. You saw yesterday, broke down the air raid offense from Mike Leach. I got more people that told me that they loved just kind of the football education that they had gotten yesterday on the show just by watching Coach break down the air raid offense. Today we're going to dive in to a little bit of the New Orleans Saints, but I also want to pick Coach's brain a little bit about this matchup of LSU Mississippi State before we jump into some of the film. Coach, good morning. It's great to see you again.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on, man. Yesterday was fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
it was good. And look, let me tell you, man, got a really good return on it. You know, I mean, there was a lot of people out there that, not like football novices or anything, like actual like football fans, people that watched the game that, were like, man, I learned something in watching the show. And I think that was pretty cool for the people to see. And like I said, there's obviously a demand for it. From just the feedback that I got yesterday and really kind of inside the chat, people loving, just kind of diving into the X's and O's. So I think that we can make a long form pod out of it at some point for the people. But this morning we'll dive into some of the Saints and Bucks. We'll look at Brady and Fournette and those guys and what they're bringing in on Sunday. But you spent a kind of tucked into this long NFL assistant coaching career that you're still in and have on your resume. You spent a little time at LSU in a short little window there, and you worked with the running backs, and you worked primarily the majority of your time with the offensive line. And I think a big storyline going into tomorrow's game is kind of the instability of the offensive line heading into week 3. Not by no fault of anybody. I think that you're still trying to find their guys. They got true freshmen, they got transfers, they got guys that are becoming eligible now, like Xavier Hill, who hasn't been after the first couple of weeks. They got veterans in there, like Charles Turner, who are kind of stepping up and taking the center role. But just your point of view of LSU's offensive line, first 2 weeks of what you've seen, and going into their first SEC game tomorrow.
Yeah, I think they're like you said, there's I don't want instability, maybe the word. It's just something where they're trying to figure out the best grouping right now, and you say, well, they had all offseason to do that, and again, I go back to sometimes you don't understand about an offensive line until they're actually playing against somebody and how they play together. And, sometimes when you've got this much turnover within the offensive line, because if you look back even 2 years ago, you almost had the entire offensive line from the 2019 season except for the center. And, and I think 3 of those guys from last year's offensive line got drafted.
Yeah, they did.
Ingram, Deculus, and Chasen Hines.
Yeah.
And, and then obviously you lost the Rosenthal to Dare to Kentucky through all that. But when, you're looking at 5 new guys from 2 years ago, you now have 5 new guys, no matter how you look at it. So when you're doing that, it's a transition period, but you got to do everything you can to get it right. And I think they're doing that because they're trying different things. Like you said, Garrett Dellinger at center, give him a shot, why not? But he's really more of a guard. If you look at, he's from Michigan, so if you look at some of his Michigan high school tape, he didn't really play any center. He was more of a tackle, and I think I saw him at guard a little bit. But if you go and look at these freshmen, when they came into camp last summer, when I was on the LSU staff and I was working with the offensive line. During the transition between James Craig and Brad Davis, there was that whole group coming in for camp in early June. And I'm telling you, like Will Campbell, I mean, he came in one morning session, so it was morning session and afternoon session. So the good players would come in for the morning session, and then they wouldn't stay for the afternoon session because, I mean, why? We didn't need, we were more, we just wanted to see him come out, do something against, Quincy Wiggins or somebody. And I mean, he was shutting everybody down.
Right.
And then, a guy like Emory Jones he was more at the tail end of my time with the O-line. So I didn't get to know him as well, but I got to be around him. And I love the fact that those guys camp together and all those, and the guys who go camp together and work together from high school on, but they actually go to college together, those guys usually end up playing together at some point, and but I think getting Scooter Hill back, Xavier Hill, sorry, it was Scooter. Sorry, I don't see him as I don't see him as Xavier. I just don't see him as Scooter.
Even when he was here, we were calling him Scooter for his interview.
But he is a different guy. He can run. He's a very, very athletic guy. He's a lot like Charles Turner in a way that he might be just slightly undersized for what you want, but he can get in space and he can make plays in space. So if you're talking about getting your screen game going, getting any kind of G pull schemes or anything like that, where you're trying to get guys out into space, even if they put him at tackle for some reason, he could still pull out there on toss plays. Those guys pull all the time. So I do think seeing Emory Jones in there would be good for the team. They need to see, okay, we had this guy as such a highly recruited guy. Let's see what he can do.
How much of a concern is it from the coaching staff, from an offensive line point of view, of the guys not having time playing together?
Yeah, I mean it is, but they like I said, you can still play groups. I can promise you during camp and during summertime and all the different things they did in spring ball, that these guys have worked together in the different groupings. So they probably have 10 different sets of 5 different guys. You know what I'm saying? There's been 10 different groups out there, and they make sure that they're working together and that the communication is right. And I know Brad is a very detail-oriented guy when it comes to the communication, and he wants to make sure that everybody communicates with everybody. And that was one thing. There's some coaches that don't do that. Some coaches say, you know what, you're a right guard, and you go play right guard, and that's not what he does. He makes sure that all these guys know how to play each position. Now, if you get settled into left tackle and you're the left tackle, like if you're Austin Deculus, that you were here for so long, then you do what you do. You play tackle.
Right.
But he's trying to cross train these guys enough to know if I need you somewhere else, you know how to talk to the guy next to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad Davis, LSU offensive line coach, with still shuffling up, trying to find that routine or that group that he wants to move forward with. All right, let's dive into some more of this film, Coach. As we said, people really are eating this stuff up, and we'll just go through a couple of plays here. We'll probably spend about 15, 20 minutes here on some film, and then, as we said, we can have some more long-form stuff of this in a different podcast type form that we mentioned. All right, what are we looking at here first?
All right, so today's not going to be like as much of a teaching session as it's going to be more of my observations on New Orleans for one, and then Tampa going into the game. So one of the things, the first half of the New Orleans game it looked like they hadn't played in the preseason. I know they had, but it just kind of was a little shaky. So what we're looking at here is I just wanted to talk about Jameis Winston and his kind of happy feet a little bit. Can you let me get to the end zone here? So if you watch here, really, again, it's a 4-man rush, no big deal, and there's a really nice pocket built here, so he can get his reads. Now Atlanta has really, really good coverage on this. Okay, they got everybody covered. That's fine. That happens every once in a while. Now you either run the ball or you find a check down or whatever it is, but I mean they've even got the check downs covered. So at this point, Jameis, hey, make something happen now. At this point, you see all their guys are over here. And I know he doesn't have eyes in the back of his head over here to be able to look this way. But at the same time, have a little bit of
awareness.
Feel and awareness that really your way out would be over here. Because I get the next play I got, you'll see the same thing going the other way. But, you give up a sack because right here, and you see how he gets really like kind of choppy footed. I mean, he's kind of all over the place.
1 second, Coach. Stewie, can we make the play screen bigger? Is that
you can go full screen with it.
Yeah, let's go full screen while he's breaking down the play.
Look at
that. So you can see he's getting a little choppy footed there, and it looks a little bit out of character for
a little panicky.
Yeah, so the panic's a good word. If you go to the next play here, now I will say this: is it Cesar Ruiz?
Caesar.
Caesar. Is that Cesar? Right. Cesar sounded better. So hey, if you're listening out there,
let's roll with it.
Cesar Sportsbook. Thank you.
All right, so 51 here. I'm going to point out, this is Grady Jarrett. All right, so when you're talking about even with Tampa's line, Tampa's got some really, really good defensive linemen. Now, they don't have the Sues and those kind of guys anymore, but they've still got some really good guys, the Vita Vea and those kind of guys. Now, I want you to watch 51. 51 is he's straight-legged, and he's going to end up punching out, and he punches out and he misses, okay? So, fine. Okay, this is not on Jameis Winston of getting happy-footed, and because really right here he's beat, all right? Now, what you got to look at here is there's no way he can't see this guy out of his peripheral. If he didn't see this guy out of his peripheral, knowing he's there and knowing this guy's running right here, really in all reality, you're Jameis Winston. You're fast. I mean, he is Jameis Winston. He's still, I know he's an older Jameis Winston, but he's still got a little bit of speed to him. This guy's engaged. Go ahead and run around this guy, because really, if you look at it, who's your check down in this case? It's really not a check down; it's a route. Kamara's running a choice route right here, so Kamara can come here and he can break in or he can break out depending on how this guy plays him. Well, this guy's got inside leverage on him, so he breaks out. So really, everything you need to get the ball away with is to the right here. So right here, why not just use your speed and go ahead and get around this edge, and then hey, throw it away. All you got to do. So in the NFL and college, I believe has the same rule, but you got the tackle box here, and as long as you're outside the tackle box and throw the ball past the line of scrimmage, you could throw it in the stands past the line of scrimmage. It doesn't matter as long as you're outside the tackle box and it's not intentional grounding. It's just throwaway. So he doesn't have to get that far away. But I thought that was something in the first half that was a little bit kind of out of sync. Now you get later in the game, and there's a lot of I talked yesterday about a lot of different coverages. I'm going to let this play and then show you here. This is called cover 3. So you've got the 3 guys here. Now they've got each one of these guys has a third. There's a difference between. I mentioned yesterday. There's some carry coverages because we saw that sail route we had yesterday where the guy was kind of playing in man and he broke. These are actually spot droppers. So this guy's got the curl flat. He's got the hook curl. He's got the hook curl. He's got the curl flat. That's what the different areas are. That's another thing. But when these guys are spot dropping, they're actually covering zones. They're covering zones. There's big holes in these zones in the seams. Okay, so this is what's called the seam, is right in this area and right in this area. A lot of red on that screen. So as you can see here, they do a good job of running, again, a basic 4 vertical thing with some stops on the outside. But this is where you can beat these cover 3 teams, and this is a really good route by the receiver, and it's a really good throw by Jameis. So they started to exploit some things later in the game as they got more comfortable. And you can see here, this is really it's a blitz. He's got the protection turned right. Good, great pickup by the line. And then hey, it's easy. But again, that's a spot drop throw, right, or spot drop coverage right there. So, and then this last one I got here talking about the offense of New Orleans. I want you to watch here first off. It's Michael Thomas right there, and this is something that as a coach you always try to make sure you notice what he's it's hard to see, but he's fixing his gloves, all right, pre-snap. And when you're fixing your gloves like that,
I'm about to get
the ball.
I always told my running backs too, if you get back in the backfield and you start messing with your gloves,
they know you're getting the ball.
They know you're getting the ball, or what I'm saying. So don't if you just come back there and you stand straight up and you're just kind of looking around, like make pass protection and a run look the same. Make a route and a run look the same.
It's almost like a pitcher with a tell on the mound.
Yeah,
where it's like I feel like I know what's coming because you're picking up on little subtle things.
So in this case right here, with the type of you got press pretty much across the board except for here, all right, and you got this guy. Really, he's ended up he's going to have Kamara when it's all said and done. Now they're playing a max drop again, where they're helping out on Kamara. All right, that's what a lot of people do to him. When you play man coverage, you don't want a linebacker covering Alvin Kamara. In all reality, I mean, it's just.
Is there any linebacker on the planet that can cover it? Can Devin White cover him?
I think Devin White can cover him. I think he's probably one of the few Yeah, he is.
Miles Jack.
He's a different beast. I was with Miles Jack, and you'd be surprised. I think he overthinks things a little bit too much. But yeah, physically, yes, he probably
Josh
could.
Allen?
No, because Josh Allen's a rusher, man.
Yeah.
He's not gonna. I would
A
love
little
to.
thick, bro.
Well, and a lot of the reason I feel like people feel like they can't cover Kamara one-on-one, they have to help, is because they give him so many choice routes, and he's so good at deciding where the space is and finding how to get open.
And the crazy thing is like I showed you the play before where the guy was playing inside leverage on him. There's times where the guy will be playing inside leverage on him, but he knows he can beat him, and he'll still run inside of him. You know, the guy, he just knows. He knows this guy can't cover me.
Got to set him up.
All right, so what I want to point out here is yesterday with the Mississippi State film, they were on the goal line playing cover zero, and you saw this guy ran through here, and this guy did this and ran underneath, and they threw it here for a touchdown. All right, this is the opposite of that. All right, so we called this blackbird, and with a couple of the teams I've been with, and it's just ran. I don't know why we called it blackbird, but it's just like you could signal.
Football.
You could signal this out there to your receivers if you saw this. So if you saw two press guys inside, you could signal this. So we had this guy run a post. This guy's running through here. He's basically trying to get this guy to go underneath him. And why do you want him to go underneath him? Because this guy's going to do this. You want him you want him trailing him. You don't want him to go over the top. So you see how this guy goes underneath, right there. So you can see how this guy made him go behind him like this. Michael Thomas is now running full speed down the sideline. He's having to trail him now. All right, that's what you want, you know. And then if you look, they basically doing the same thing. So they just ran this guy kind of out of the way. That guy ran kind of the rub route, and then Michael Thomas is running this route, and that's how you get these guys open on press coverage.
Well, it's a de facto rub. To get him out of phase, right?
Exactly. And these are called, for a lack of a better term, and I apologize to anybody in your
cars for carpool.
Yeah, so they're called man beaters. So, but that's what we call these man beaters. So anytime, there are different ways to do this. If this guy were to be off and this guy was on, you know, then you would do the opposite.
Beat him off.
Do that, yeah. So you would do the opposite depending on who's pressed and who's not. So there's a lot of things, but I thought that was really good by them. Now that looks like they called that. Maybe Jameis did before the play started, but I mean, I thought that was a really good
indication of where they're running the offense.
Yeah, he knows. They understood two press guys on the inside to get that done. Real quick, moving to Tampa's defense.
Great throw.
I do want to point out that this Tampa defense is they are what they are, and they're not changing because the head coach was the D coordinator. You know what I mean? So
Todd Bowles.
Yeah. So what you saw last year, I mean, it's his team, so it's his defense. I mean, that stuff's not changing. One of the things they do is this is called a cross dog, right?
Oof.
So they're bringing these guys, and then they're dropping out a defensive end. I do want to make the point that they stole a player in Carl Nassib, getting him back, and I mean, whether the Raiders let him go for other reasons, which is screwed up if they did.
Love his life.
Players are players, man. I mean,
You're talking about locker room stuff.
talking about locker room stuff.
Yep.
But if that's the case, I mean,
Shit, Coach, he's a ball player.
he is a really good player, and they got him back, and that's him up here playing 94. But so point being here is Dallas screws this up the first time, all right, and you know they get sacked. All right, but they got to know this is coming. This is a staple. It's a staple in this defense. So you know, as you look at it again, you got him who's dropping, and then these guys are crossing. Speaking of these guys, you
got Levante David and Devin White coming at you in your mouth.
Running back picked up the wrong.
he
didn't really know.
The tackle should have gone out on the defensive end. So they come back, same pressure. All right. Now, I want to make a point of this, and this is just a personal viewpoint. Again, it's the same exact blitz. Here's Nassib dropping again, cross dog. Now, I want you to watch this from the end zone. Everybody talks about how great of a blocker Ezekiel Elliott is. I'm sorry, I don't see it. I've never seen it, but look at. I mean, that's just soft to me. And maybe their brother-in-law, like right here. So, but and the good thing about what they did is they did pick it up correctly, because the rule in offensive line play is if you have an inside cross and really say this was the backs guy, like this probably is, but if he were to blitz first, if this guy were to come first, the center always takes the first guy, and the back plays off of him for obvious reasons. He's got time to react, but they got it picked up that time.
Damn.
So they
Bro,
got
you know how
to.
fast that's coming at you in real time?
HC 45 in your
I
mouth.
mean, you got to
And then-
see Devin White coming around that 300-pound center.
It's a business decision.
And then this could be a whole clinic in itself. So, which could be another day. But this again is a staple of Todd Bowles, and I'll show it from the end zone. But both those linebackers
better
are
drop
double A.
coverage.
They're mugged in the A gaps. All right? Now you got motion. Now, when you're playing a team that has these double A gap blitzes, you want to know if it's man or if it's zone because different things come from it. It's a whole clinic in itself. So right now he motions, nobody runs with him. It's zone. Everybody knows it's zone. So you know one of two things is either these guys are bailing out or something else is coming and other dudes are dropping out, which is the case here. So as you see, I'll show it from the end zone because blitzes are easier to see from the end zone. So what's going to happen is both of these guys are coming here. He's doing this, and then this guy from the outside is blitzing here. All right, so this is really good by Dallas's offensive line, but this is where the Saints have got to be on top of their game here. Is the back's blocking him. Sure, that guy was supposed to be blocking him, but when this guy drops, he knows right now, come back and help.
Right.
When this guy drops, he knows, okay, I can help now. And
Wow.
in this case, helping this guy means, hey, go, go, go. So he goes out and blocks this guy. His guy drops, go, go, go. So he comes out and blocks this guy. That's a really good job. So the Saints have just got to be ready for those kind of things.
What did you think of the play? Do you have the play where Lenny hit Parsons?
I don't, but I
What's your thought on that?
chip blocks are legal, and yes, that was he was engaged. It was not a high low block though. It was a rib shot, and it's not
He popped him.
It's
Well,
not,
yeah, you're engaged and you
caught
get
him.
caught. Yeah, and Micah Parsons has got welcome to the NFL. I mean, that's going to happen. You're
Is
going to
it-
get. He knows that whenever you're engaged, and it just seemed like he was more reacting to social media than he was to
Yeah.
trying to say it's a dirty play. That happens every single Sunday.
It goes back to the T.J. Watt getting he got cut in the one game. Somebody else got cut. It was the kid from
Thibodeau.
Thibodeau, yeah, he gets cut. Those are legal blocks, and you can't take legal blocks out of the game. Now, if you want to take that block out of the game, take it out of the game, but you can't get mad about it if it happens. It happens. Now, with the chip blocks, as a running back coach, one of the things we always told him was legally go take some football out of that guy.
Cool.
You don't want to hurt anybody. You never want to hurt anybody. I mean, in all reality, it's a competitive game. And it's hard to practice. You can't practice on your own guys because you don't want to take football out of your own guys. But I'm telling you, man,
Take a soul.
Yeah, you got to go. And if a guy has his arms up and he's got his ribs exposed, it's his own fault. But he knows that there's a running back standing back there and that he's rushing, and if that back stays right outside of him a little bit, you're gonna get popped. So anyway,
And Lenny saw it and took it.
well,
I was one of them.
and and now I'm going to get into this with Fournette right now. Actually, he showed up to camp a little big, right? And he still looks like he's lost a little step. Now
Lenny thick
he
Lenny.
rushed for a lot of. He had a really good game. I think he averaged 6 yards a carry or something.
I think he had the highest average before contact he's ever had in his career that game.
That goes to my point right now. Is he is? I think that's more to the detriment of Dallas's defense than it is to necessarily what he was doing. So, if the Saints can get on this guy early, he just doesn't look like he's got that same pop to him that he had. Now, maybe if he loses that a little bit, keeps losing that weight. What I want to talk about here is Dallas's edge defense, because New Orleans has the same kind of issue. I'll show you in a couple clips from here. But if you look at how Dallas is getting, what they're doing is they're pulling these guys around, and they're really trying to get the edge, because on the outside here, you got a whole lot of leverage by Tampa. I mean, you got two guys that are uncovered here. Now you got 7 out here, and I get he's a good player, but
He don't want that.
you don't want that. He does not want this 7. This 7 does
Versus
not
that
want
7?
that 7.
No, you don't
all
want
right?
that.
Now, so what they're doing, Tampa runs this play. It's called duo, and most of the time, these guys are doubling. These guys would be doubling to him, and he'd actually be on him. So it's really just
Is this tackle over?
It's old school. No, this is just 3 tight ends.
Wow.
And so, but point being, so this is a play that they run. Well, what they did here is they said, okay, you're going to give us this edge over here. We're going to pull this backside guard, and lead for Leonard Fournette. And look who's blocking number 7 now.
He don't want no smoke.
He don't want
He's
none
bad
of
as
that.
Deion Sanders, bro. He's running away from him.
I'm either cutting or leaving.
So the thing that I want to make a point of is to keep that in mind here when I get to the Saints after this next play. And I just wanted to show you this play because this is what Tampa does. This is what they're about. Their coaching staff has been together for a long time, and they're gonna just line up here in their run game, and all they're doing here is they're blocking. This is old school. Our guys are better than your guys.
Man, oh man.
And then look, they're not. They didn't even block him. They didn't even block him. And that's all they're doing. They're basic. They're doubling here. Now he goes out, so he just goes up. They're doubling here and here. And I mean, boop, there he goes. Now this is the thing. I've seen Fournette hit a different gear right here, and this is what made me think, okay, he's not what he was, but he still has that, you know.
Yeah.
Because there's a time he takes that to the sideline and maybe house it.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know,
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
he still has. I think he still has that ability. It's just I don't know if that coming into camp was
There yet?
Yeah. So I'm going to point this out. So if you look at the way that Atlanta lined up against New Orleans defense, it's a lot the same. I mean, look at the edge over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now you've got other guys. I get it. And I've been around Dennis Allen for a long time. He was a GA when I was playing at A&M, and I've known him. He's a really good coach. He's a really good defensive coach. He's not going to do this for no reason, but you still got to be able to take care of business when time comes. And this doesn't even have anything to do. This play actually has nothing to do with this side. This play has to do with this side. All right. So you've got two guys here. Now, when this guy should be setting the edge. Now, when this guy motions over, all right, it kind of takes him out of being able to set the edge. All right. So what's going to happen is when you see this from the back, they're going to run a outside zone here. Now he goes back, so really now he's back in the game. Now look what this guy does. See how this guy jumped inside? Now he could jump inside knowing that this guy's here. You know, now he's got to make the play. So they're down a gap. Now all of a sudden a new gap was created right here, and you got guys blocking out in front. You know, so point being is they've got to get better on their edge defense, and that's what Tampa just created on the last play, was when they pulled that extra guy around. It created an extra gap, and I'm going to show you on the next play here. This will be my last play coming up here on the Saints film, but this is what the Saints have got to be ready for, because I'm just telling you that teams like Tampa can run this play. I'm sure they have this play in, and it's simple, but there's a lot going on. All right, so they motion the tight end over. All right. Why does that matter? Well, it makes a lot of communication happen on defense. Okay, now you went from, like yesterday, 2x2. Now you went to 3x1. Now your coverage structure could change. You know, you can see these guys are now rolling down over here. You know, now they motion again back to 2x2. But now you've got your speed over here. Now you got your speed side over here. It's just a lot of communication. Now what they're going to do next is not only going to do that, they're going to run this guy over here on the snap. He's not blocking. This guy's unblocked, okay? They're reading this guy. All right, so this guy's getting read. All right, they're going to run a read zone option here, all right, reading this guy. So they're not blocking him. This tight end looks like he is, but really when he comes back, he's really leading for the quarterback. And you see how he's really trying to avoid 94. He's not really blocking 94.
No, he just wants his attention.
Yeah, so I can tell you he's just knowing this scheme. So all this stuff's going on. Now this is what you call it's a version of bear. Usually a bear front means you got a head up nose, a 3 technique, a B gap player, somebody out here. You got every gap covered. Mm-hmm. And it comes from we call it bear defense. The Chicago Bears used to run it back in the day. And I'm sorry, I got distracted. All right. I'm glad I was here for that.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm sorry. You guys will understand in a minute. All right. So anyway, when this is all said and done, when the tight end comes back over here, all right. So not only did you have the jet motion, what did the jet motion do? What did this motion do? It took 20 out of the play.
Took him out of the box.
So 20 is gone. When this guy came around, you're really reading him. He's really going to lead up here for the quarterback if the quarterback kept it, but because 94 went up the field, hand it off. All right? So he handed it off. Now, 57 almost makes the play, but in all reality, I mean, that's a well-blocked play, and this gets down to about the 2-yard line.
And you're handing it off to a
5-yard
6'2",
line.
220-pound, which isn't much different than
And
Leonard, to be honest.
So
When you're talking about a bigger back with Cordero Patterson, he was able to, which I think shocked some Saints fans in terms of how he's still able to kind of go from return specialist to put him back at running back, all-purpose guy. But you're not going to see the Bucs do this exact kind of thing, right? Because Tom's not a run threat.
They're not going to now. Tom's not okay. But the point I want to make, and I wrote this down. I looked at their schedule. You have Arizona, Baltimore, San Francisco, Atlanta again. You got the Browns. When Watson's back.
Yeah,
All
first
right.
game back. Or no,
But he's back. I think he's like week 14 or something. And then you got the Eagles on the schedule. Those are all running quarterbacks. Those are all teams that are going to do this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your games coming up that are going to be against
mobile quarterbacks.
And you got to be able to fix this. Now there are ways to fix this, and I know he will, because you could always bump this guy over, bump this guy in. Now your coverage aspects get a little skewed, especially down in the red zone where they're at right now. But that you got to understand too, they will they'll fix this, and that these, like Mariota is still kind of new to Atlanta, obviously, but so I'm sure they didn't have a whole lot of film, but I'm sure they went back and watched it of what he did in Tennessee and different places. You still go scout
Las Vegas
those guys
for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then even you almost can go back to Oregon, because that's what they're tailor-made, like they're tailor-making this offense, tailor-made offense for Mariota. Like they changed their entire scheme from Matt Ryan to Marcus Mariota.
So yeah, and again, I think the biggest points of this are there's a few little issues on the Saints defense that can get exploited, like that edge, because you saw when they actually lined up that one play, that edge on the ones they didn't run to that side, but that edge was still a little short for the Saints. And then really, if Jameis can just get into a groove a little earlier than he did, he's fine. But and again, I'll throw this out there. They still got Andy Dalton, and I was with Andy for 8 years in Cincy, and I get it. Andy has his drawbacks too, but if you needed a guy to go in there and calm it down, he could do that.
What is it about Brady from a coaching standpoint when you see this guy and y'all are talking about him within the walls?
He can run. He doesn't need coaches to run the offense for him. You know what I mean? I say that in no disrespect to the coaches he's had, but it is when he's on the field, if he needs to change a play, he doesn't have to have rules to change it. He finds a way to change it. And when it comes to checking the plays, a lot of times 2 plays get sent in, and he knows exactly when to check them and why they're checking them. And there's not a whole lot to it. But the biggest thing I think he has the respect of the players around him, and none of those guys want to let him down. So when you're talking about some of these quarterbacks that are, you call them selfish quarterbacks or whatever, and then you get these players that all of a sudden look like they quit around them, it's probably because they are. And nobody's going to quit on Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to quit on Patrick Mahomes or Herbert or any of those guys, or even Matthew Stafford. I was around Stafford, which, by the way, Stafford is the originator of the no-look pass, not Mahomes. So I'm telling you, man.
No, I believe that.
Oh, my gosh. This dude would throw some – now, I saw a lot of practice stuff too. This dude throws some crazy throws, and you're like, what are you doing? And all of a sudden, it's like he's like running to the right. He's looking to the sideline. He just throws it way over to the left to some dude that's like 3 people over, and you're like, how did you even see that? But I do have one quick story about Stafford. I know this is totally off subject, but 2020, was a year we had no fans.
Uh-huh.
And I was in charge of blitz pickup, so I was with the running backs and everything. So I'm on the field down there, and we would always, when I was done talking to the running backs, I would go over to the quarterbacks and see, hey, if we had some blitz show up or something, hey, what did you see? Is there everything still good? We good with our plan? There was one. They had everybody over to the left. All right, the entire team was over to the left, and then there was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 guys kind of on the right, but they didn't look like they were blitzing. Well, he checks the protection from sliding the line left to sliding the line right, and you could see him doing it from the sideline. I'm like, what are you doing? What? And I'm like, this dude's crazy. And sure enough, right at the snap, the entire defense rotated. We kind of knew that they had that in there, but not in the pre-snap look. Well, they were messed up for one. So I come over and I said, Staff, how did you see that? He goes, I didn't see anything. I heard them say they were blitzing over there. So he flipped the protection because there were no fans.
Yeah.
There was no fans.
Wow.
He said they were over there arguing about who was blitzing.
Let me shift this real quick.
Dude, I'm just going to put it over here. So,
Thank y'all.
I think they actually, it was Tampa actually, believe it or not, at some point there. But that was crazy. But we
Toughest guy of all time, Matt Stafford.
Yes, and I'm saying that in a quarterback perspective.
Right.
We played Oakland in 19. I'm sorry, that wasn't Tampa. They did it against. I'm tripping. See, it's early in the morning.
I'm tripping
too. Something has distracted me this morning also. So I'm but anyway, I
looks great over there.
So
Told you.
in 19 we played Oakland and we were in Oakland. So it was they hadn't moved yet and we were on that. That
baseball field.
That stadium is so bad, by the way.
So bad.
We played there, not that game, but we played there with the Bengals when they still had the dirt out there.
Oh yeah.
And you talk about the old school fields with the turf and stuff, but like this is like legit levels. Like you go from the grass to the dirt, and you could roll your ankle just walking on it.
Wow.
But in the mound, so they took the mound off of there and they put this other little thing down on top of it.
That's
it's weird,
crazy.
but anyway, so we were playing Oakland, and he runs a pass towards the end of the game, and he gets just totally annihilated, and he broke a vertebrae in his back. And dude played through it. He played through it, and now he didn't end up finishing the season, but he played through it for a while. And so when you say somebody played through a broken back, he legit played through a broken back.
Like Tyson, I broke my back.
Broke my back for the team.
That's unreal, man.
So, but that, yeah. So that I don't even know where we were going with that, but
Tough.
That's how we got to there.
So. The man, Coach Caskey, is here breaking down film again. Make sure and check that out. We will have a longer form on this where it will be a standalone, and I think this is how we do it. We kind of tease it throughout the show, and then we bring back some longer form stuff because there is a market out there. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. All right, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. The debt has been paid, and we will give a shout out to our friends over at Red Stick. Wow, did you paint your face maroon, or are you blushing right now?
She's
As the loser.
Gee, you look great.
Of
You're
a
fine.
double or nothing bet, and will wear her
Little
baseball
red,
uniform
the worst thing
out
to hear.
to LSU. We will talk to the loser, Katie Alligood, next year on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Looks great.